Let's start. We're live. All right, and welcome to another episode of On the Block. And I just want to thank the fabulous staff for that incredible commercial that we just saw. That was my first time seeing it, just like you, Antonio. I'm so excited. I can't stop smiling. For those ladies are just awesome. What did you think about that?
That was a great commercial.
It was. It was great. It was great. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is another episode of On the Block. And this is where we start to talk about all things blockchain, everything that has to do with the space. We're not discussing coins tonight. So, if we're specific coins, we're not doing any of that. We're just really educating so people know what's out there. We get questions all the time about what exchange should I use? How do they work? And some of those things. And so on the block is a time that we really set time aside to educate our community. So with that being said, this company and this individual that I am going to introduce you to, I have been following for some years now. And the reason why is because there was a blockchain summit in Los Angeles a couple of years back. And these guys really caught my attention because not only were they down to earth, they were like the most fabulous, hospitable, friendly guys that, I came across. And so, when you get to spaces, everybody's friendly, but, you find some people that you just really gravitate to. And the guys at BlockQuake were exactly that. And so I had the privilege of really sitting down with them, really listening to their vision. And they said they were opening this exchange. And again, in my book, anybody that is selling a service and product that is similar or even not similar to mine is all about access in our community. So it didn't matter to me that I had an over the counter exchange and they were talking about selling Bitcoin. I just know that we need to partner up and begin to work together in this space. And so I stayed in contact with these guys. And we're going to talk about their story and we're going to talk about their exchange. We're going to talk to Antonio again. And for those of you, he is on the stage, but you will hear him through my mic only because we are streaming live. And you can actually see the interview if you like on either our YouTube or later on it'll be on our Instagram and Twitter and all of those places. But in the meantime, I would like to introduce to some and present to others Mr. Antonio Brasse. How are you today?
Hey, doing great, Najah. Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, to your point, we met a couple of years ago at that LA Crypto Invest Summit, and it just felt like family right away when we met at the social event and we were all talking and just clicked immediately.
Yes, 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 yes. So Antonio, let's get a little bit of your accolades in here. So
Sure.
under your name right now, I see CPA, CIA, which scares me. We'll find out what that means. CFSA, CISA, CAMS. What do all of those? What does all that stand for?
Sure. So yeah, I've got a pretty diverse background from financial services, both technology and business oriented. So, CPA, I think everyone's probably familiar with that, certified public accountant. I actually did accounting and computer science, two two separate bachelor's degrees as undergrad. So pretty well versed in both spaces. CIA is actually certified internal auditor. Much of my career was actually in audit, risk management, compliance, regulatory work, both on the tech and business side for almost 15 years before I jumped into the crypto blockchain space, working at your typical big banking and insurance companies. CFSA is certified financial services auditor. CISA is the IT one, the certified information systems auditor. And CAMS is actually the one that really pertains to our space right now, certified anti-money laundering specialist. So, everyone keeps talking about KYC and AML and all that good stuff in the crypto blockchain space. Between myself and many other team members, we have a lot of professional experience in everything regulatory that really applies to the space. So, yeah, so that's what all the designations are.
Well, that is awesome. So I do know one thing about you. You are a smart brother. That is for sure. That is for sure. So look, just tell us a little bit about how you grew up, where you grew up, how things, progressed into you going to get these different degrees and masters and all the things that you've gotten thus far.
Yeah, yeah. So, born and raised in New York City, first generation American. My cultural background is West Indian, Caribbean. So, my parents migrated here a couple of decades ago, and then I was born in Brooklyn and grew up in Brooklyn. Still live in New York City. Went to school in New York City my whole life, and traveled the world with a lot of these financial companies I worked for, and I'd say like when I hit college, I was kind of looking at the landscape out there, and for some reason, way back then, I just saw like a merger of business, finance, and technology, and that's why I pursued those two degrees simultaneously, doing computer science and accounting, and then when I graduated, I went into the field and worked X number of years in financial services, about 15 years before doing this. And, many team members have a similar story where, through our work experiences, we got into trading stocks, options, commodities, FX, doing real estate, like just from a lot of things I learned from work. I ended up getting into those things myself before even getting into cryptocurrencies. And I know a lot of people have similar stories of trading different things before crypto. And then, around, 2015, 2016 came around that I started really delving into cryptocurrencies, like a lot of other team members on our team that have, worked in finance. And then it was late end of year 2017 that I was with now some of my existing team members where we were trading cryptocurrency going into year end. For those that have been following the market for a while, everyone knows like everyone in the public started getting into that frenzy and jumping into crypto late 2017. And just from a lot of the really bad experiences with a lot of the trading platforms out there to expensive trading fees to lack of transparency, lack of compliance, or exchanges being hacked left and right, which is still happening today. We at year end decided that we had the knowledge, or we knew the people with the knowledge to actually come out with a trading platform that really addressed a lot of those gaps. And we then started BlockQuake January 2018 at kind of the beginning of that bear market. And we've been building through these 3 to 4 years now, and we just recently launched the trading platform back in August. We started with 6 pairs to get our feet wet, but before this year is out, we'll be in excess of a couple hundred because we're plugging in the top liquidity providers. And before the year is out, we're gonna not just be a crypto exchange, just be a really global financial hub for the masses out there, covering a lot of the top cryptocurrencies that you probably talk about with your viewership, as well as multiple fiat rails. Through us, we'll be able to offer U.S. financial multi-currency accounts to pretty much anyone on the planet. I know you and I have talked a lot about financial inclusion for all, and really, financial access for people that are more disenfranchised and stuff like that. And that's something that both you and I are addressing together. And there's a lot of people in Africa, Latam, Southeast Asia, a lot of these emerging markets that don't have access to global financial services or a bank account or a financial account, and they can get that with us and get access to the global marketplace. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. And also, at BlockQuake is a company that started out in New York City and has a lot of team members in LA, in New York, and other places. We're a really diverse team. So outside of our professional backgrounds, just culturally, ethically, racially, incredibly diverse, minority-founded crypto exchange company, and well-traveled. So we often think about us being global citizens, and that this is a global community, and we need to, serve the entire global community and bring more access to everyone. So I'll stop rambling there and take a step back.
No, it's okay. Because I want you to take a step back on me with me for on a couple of things. Number one, you said something, and I want to make sure you break it down for everybody. You said that you're able to trade pairs.
Yes.
So, first of all, tell us what the pairs are that you have and what actually a pair is for those who are understanding, because we're teaching, of course, that they're moving out of fiat into Bitcoin. And so, what is a pair? What does it look like? You said that you take different currencies, which,
Yes.
we want to talk about that too. So, first, tell us what the pairs are.
Sure. So right now, we've got your typical trading pairs out there. So you've got, for example, Bitcoin to the US dollar. Everything trades in pairs. So for someone that's brand new, you're either buying or selling one asset for another asset. Um, Most people are most familiar with Bitcoin dollar. So they're either buying Bitcoin for US dollar, or they're selling Bitcoin for US dollar. And that's what we mean by trading pair. It's one asset paired against another, and you're trading between the two. So as it relates to what we'll have on the platform right now, we've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Tether, paired against each other, as well as the US dollar. And before this year is out, we're going to have so many other cryptos, XRP, Dogecoin, um, Cardano, a lot of the top popular ones that everyone's looking at right now. And we'll have those paired against one another in some cases, and paired against multiple fiat. So when I bring up the multiple fiats, the global audience is much more than the United States, right? So there's people in Canada, in Europe, Australia, other countries, and before the year is out, we'll actually have Bitcoin and a number of other cryptocurrencies paired against the Canadian dollar, the euro, the pound, the Japanese yen, and this is important for people from those regions where they have their local currency and they want an easier way of trading into or out of cryptocurrencies. Not everyone uses the dollar, so we're cognizant of that, and working with our banking partners, we currently support six fiat wallets, and that would be the U.S. dollar, Canadian, Euro, Pound, Japanese yen, and Australian dollar. And we continue to talk to banking partners to hopefully keep adding to that as we get into the next year and future years. And this is to broaden access to the marketplace, because most people still they need their fiat to
Right.
still on and off ramp. And we've got credit debit card integrations as well. So for a lot of currencies we don't currently cover, someone in, say, Mexico or Nigeria or wherever, they can still use their credit or debit card and deposit into our platform. It'll auto convert their local currency to US dollars, and they can go ahead and trade. And
Wait a
yeah,
minute. Let's pause right there. So we
yep,
got some folks in the UK,
yep,
definitely got some folks in Nigeria. So they can use their actual credit card with BlockQuake.
yeah,
It'll immediately turn their Naira into um,
US dollars.
US dollars so that they can trade
Yep,
from Nigeria.
Yeah, so it takes about a couple of hours to clear, but it'll clear within the day. I've seen it often clear in under 12 hours, so much faster than a wire transfer, right? You and I have done international wires, like it could take a couple of days.
Mhm.
So we do take wire transfers too, but I really tell people if you're playing around with only a couple $100, it's actually worth paying the credit card or debit card fee to actually, you know, do that do that deposit and get it cleared within half a day, and you can start trading from fiat to crypto.
That is awesome, awesome news. In fact, I'm doing an event for the UK in a
Yeah,
couple of days, so I'll be able to share that as well. And I'm glad because I did not know that, and I know that we have Charlene who does a event almost every month as it relates to Nigeria. So I'll make sure that we pass that information on. She's one of the moderators at the Black Bitcoin Billionaires, so we'll make sure that they know that. So I'm asking too. I know there's somebody's going to ask this question when you talk about pairs, what makes you different from like a Binance or a Gemini? Why
yeah,
why is that pair significant? What's the difference?
yeah. So once we onboard these current liquidity providers we're speaking to, we'll be in the couple hundred range by end of year with trading pairs. So um, you mentioned some popular names out there. Um, I would first start with saying that what sets us apart from most exchanges out there is that we actually have fiat on and off ramps. Most exchanges don't. Most exchanges are crypto to crypto only, and usually have to then jump around from one exchange to another to eventually get to where you're going. And now you're talking about various trading fees, gas fees, network fees, because you have to move stuff around. Whereas you can just come with your fiat and purchase crypto directly on our platform. On the fee side, for the trading fee side, when it comes to regulated exchanges like us with fiat on ramps and off ramps, we're actually probably one of the more cheaper to competitive trading platforms at 20 basis points. A lot of the standard US or other regulated crypto exchanges, you're potentially paying 30, 50 basis points, if not well above 1 to 1.5%, far significantly higher than us. So, on the fee side as well, we definitely stand apart from a lot of the other, transparent, trustworthy exchanges out there. And I bring up, regulated. I call this a regulated exchange because there are a lot of exchanges out there that are offshore that are sitting in jurisdictions where there's no accountability. And yes, you can go trade for a couple of basis points, but what you're giving up is that transparency and that security, where those exchanges can get hacked and they can disappear, and there's just no accountability. So there's a give and take. You can go places and go for the quote unquote cheapest fee, but you might be paying more for the crypto, right? Liquidity might not be as deep. They're not doing full KYC and they don't have access to deep liquidity pools. So you might be paying a higher spread, a higher price. So yes, you got a cheaper trading fee, but then you ended up actually paying more in the long run, and you may be dealing with a less secure trading platform. I like to talk about security because for our trading platform, we mandate at base 2FA at the user account level. That's so key. It's been in the news so much lately about user account level hacks from like SMS hacks, where someone steals your phone number and then they access all your financial accounts. That can't happen with us because we don't allow for SMS based two factor authentication. A lot of the top crypto exchanges that we've probably all talked about before, they still allow for like email based or SMS based 2FA, and it's a big weakness. We've seen a lot of news articles with people's crypto accounts getting hacked over these last couple of weeks and months
Yes.
because their phone number got jacked, and they lost a lot of crypto, a couple $1,000 to some really big names that lost millions of dollars. So I think though those are things that set us apart too. So trading fees were lower than a lot of people, better security, better deeper liquidity because we're partnering with the top liquidity providers. and that multi-currency, fiat rails that nobody else has. I don't think there's any other exchange that offers multi-currency accounts with 6 fiat rails. I think we're the only one.
I think you are the only one too. Very proud of that for you all
Thank
as
you.
well. And when you're talking about security, and you're talking about, I mean, there's so many things that I can pull out of what you just said about higher fees, and I think a lot of people really miss the fact that different exchanges have different cost basis for Bitcoin. They have different spreads. They have all these bells and whistles that some of them don't even disclose up front. And so when I got into talking about BlockQuake, in regulatory, let's be honest, when you say this is a regulated exchange, a lot of people kind of tense up and they're like, well, that's not what this space is about.
Yeah.
So why is that? Why was that most important for you? And I know that you kind of went over it a little bit, but I want to, because there are some folks out there that would like this space to have a lot more transparency and a lot more regulation. And so you decided early on that that was something that you were going to challenge and become that exchange that does that thing. So why is that?
Yeah, yeah. So from my perspective, I know a lot of people like cringe at the word regulations, and they they think of it as like a blocker or something that stops them from doing something. I've experienced many markets in the past before crypto, and when there's regulatory clarity, you get to see more uniformity, right? You get to see more transparency. There's more accountability, and that actually lets a marketplace grow. Like for the end user, I think it's important that they see how important regulations are, because it helps create a standard across the board, and they're better able to evaluate different trading platforms or projects or whatever they might be looking at. And being a regulated exchange means that we're held accountable. So if something, who owns the company, we have to disclose all that. We get audited. We have to, we're registered with FinCEN, pursuing our bit license. So a lot of these frameworks out there, they have set minimum standards that you have to abide by to get registrations and licenses. So that can help, an end trader feel more comfortable. Like, okay, you're an exchange that has like minimum requirements for customer protection, for security, those type of things. So that's where I see it mattering. And then KYC too. That's important because um, as you know your customer, you're able to engage in other business, like to land a lot of the liquidity providers and banking relationships and stuff. An exchange needs to be regulated, needs to do full KYC, and that'll bring more business and liquidity into a platform, which equates to better pricing for the customer at the end of the day. So from our perspective, that's regulations will help the industry grow. And for any of your listeners that have traded, say, Forex, for example, it's a perfect market that I like to point to, that in the early 2000s, it was very much the wild, wild west, the way crypto is right now. And people were doing anything and everything, and regulators around the globe cracked down on a lot of the scams and a lot of the bad brokers that were out there, and they put laws in place, and it actually grew the marketplace because now everyone had to operate by a minimum set of standards, and that made a lot more people out there, retail and institutions, feel more comfortable, and it flooded the market. And now the FX markets are the largest markets on the planet. I don't know what they're doing now, 8-10 trillion a day. I have it's massive, and there's that type of potential in the crypto markets where, as we get to more uniformity, the space is going to keep growing exponentially. So that's just good for everybody.
And so you've already taken the steps to kind of get ahead of all the other things that people will have to do in the very near future. I know that for sure. And I'm
Yeah.
really proud of you all, as I always say. But you are located in New York. Do you want to share with anybody on what street you're located? I'm so proud of you all.
Yes, we are literally on Wall Street. So we're for people that have visited New York City, we're at 110 Wall Street. So we're a couple of blocks down from the New York Stock Exchange, and pretty close to the beautiful South Street Seaport. When we've got great weather, I like to take some long walks right along the water. It's right near our building, so I love this area. My entire career prior to this, I spent most of my time in the financial district.
All right. Well, I'm excited about that. I can't wait to visit. It's been a long time coming, so I am sure that I'll get down there very, very soon. So,
Yeah.
what does BlockQuake have up for 2022? Is there anything that we can look forward to?
Yeah, I definitely say I'd say our focus is to continue growing our trading pairs and our fiat rails, to continue this whole messaging around broader financial access. I know you and I have often talked about that, like reaching various communities that don't have access to financial services or the crypto market. So we definitely want to keep that top of the list, from a very global perspective. So that's up there. There's definitely things on our roadmap I don't want to talk about yet. You and I have talked privately about a lot of things that we want to do from an infrastructure perspective, that can really help grow the crypto ecosystem. A lot of that has to do with banking and wallet infrastructure stuff. But yeah, we want to, beyond retail and institutional services, through the exchange operations and being this global financial hub, we do want to, as our crypto exchange grows and we have significant funding either through revenue or capital raised as we're still raising capital, we do want to participate in a lot of the underlying infrastructure and help get that to where it needs to be. I think that we can help fast track a lot of that stuff because of our past financial experience. I think that there's a lot of lessons learned from that we can continue to bring into the space. But right now, the focus going into like from now to next summer, just keep broadening financial access and also marketing. Let the communities out there, domestically and abroad, know that we are an easier path to getting into the crypto markets. Uh, we were talking about pricing earlier. We were looking at this last week, so I definitely want to bring this up. We were looking at South Africa, for example, and people that want to buy Bitcoin, say out in South Africa, they're paying almost twice the rate that we're paying here in the U.S., and that's absurd. Like
Wow.
they're paying double the price, and through an exchange like us, we don't support the rand yet, but we're trying to work towards that. But right now, someone can, in South Africa, take their credit card or debit card, plug it into our exchange, and do a deposit. It auto converts to USD. They probably pay a couple of percentage in the credit FX fees, right? Um, but they're able to buy their Bitcoin or other crypto at real, true market prices and not pay that crazy premium markup. To the level of 2x. There's a lot of countries out there where people are paying 15, 20, 30%, if not premiums on purchasing crypto. So, that's where we come into play for a lot of people, where they can get things at true market price.
Well, that is awesome, awesome, awesome. And you touched on this a little bit, and I do want to back up because I want to make sure that newbies and seasoned traders alike are really understanding this liquidity thing. Liquidity is extremely important
Yeah.
when you're dealing with an exchange. And just case in point, not this weekend, but last weekend, someone was sending out a message to me stating that they wanted to cash out of their position in this particular coin, and they had acquired, in theory, $200 million, but they couldn't get that $200 million off the exchange that they were dealing with.
Yeah.
So tell our viewers and listeners how important dealing with an exchange that actually has the real liquidity to be able to transact is. Like why is that so important?
Yeah, it's as anyone that's traded enough, they know that the crypto markets liquidity is really fragmented right now. Most exchanges that are out there, The only liquidity they have is what's on their books. They're not. It's very difficult for them to source from other players. Whereas because we're a regulated exchange that does full KYC and all of our customers, the very top liquidity providers we're able to work with and going through that process of getting many of them plugged in. So now you're talking about we're aggregating liquidity from the number one players in the space that has access to essentially unlimited liquidity so we can handle any trade order size. So let's say someone with $1 million worth of like one of these top cryptos out there, they want to buy or sell $1 million worth, they can get that done on our platform. They can't necessarily get that done on any platform. And because of that aggregated liquidity, you're getting more consistent pricing, right? When Bitcoin was popping the other day, you had some exchanges quoting it. We won't say which exchange, but some exchanges were quoting it in the 60,000 range, and then you had some exchanges all of a sudden like the price was 10,000 or 8,000 or whatever it was, like some crazy blip, and that's the issue when you trade in some exchanges where um, you know prices are drastically different from one platform to another. With us, because we're aggregating from the top LPs, you're seeing an average out of the prices, and you're seeing the best pricing, or at least the most competitive pricing, something that's consistent. So you're not going to see those wild swings on our platform. Obviously, like whatever exchange that happened to, the $10,000 BTC, somebody won, somebody lost really bad on that. Um, but yeah, you won't see those like crazy fluctuations with us.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And so, part of my job, I really feel like is just really helping people understand not just the buying of the Bitcoin and some of these other coins, but just really understanding how the exchanges work, just so they can have a better user experience, and then they'll know when somebody is really pulling the wool over their eyes, talking about they have liquidity and some of this other stuff that you hear, and then it's just absolutely not so. So thank you for giving us that clarification.
Yeah, yeah, and one of the things I wanted to mention, Naja, too, is because you mentioned earlier that there are a lot of new people watching this tonight. With our platform too, um, the way it was designed to be easy to use. So, like we talked about a lot of the underlying infrastructure stuff that makes us unique, but from a user experience perspective, the platform was actually the look and feel of it was designed by people on our team that never traded before. It had to make sense to them, so they put a lot of input into that. So we've got essentially a pro trader screen that's still very easy to use, where people can do their charting, a lot of white space, so they can see things clearly. And we also have we have this quick buy sell screen where people can just they want to go buy $100 worth of Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever it is, and they just want to get that done. So we have a quick buy sell where they just go to a screen, pick that trading pair, and just enter how much they want to do and just hit buy or sell, and it's done. And we wanted to keep it simple for people that were really newer to the space. So we definitely thought about, um, you know, the masses that are not yet in crypto that we want to draw in. It needs to be easy for them.
Yes, yes, yes. And those of us who have never professionally traded,
Yeah,
thank you for that.
you're welcome.
It definitely is a user friendly atmosphere. And so what we're going to do right now is kind of take some calls and some questions from the floor. I know we have Clubhouse. We're going to ask Natalie to open up the floor for hand raising if we have anybody there. And on any of our platforms, if we have any questions, if the ladies can possibly put those questions up, if we have any, this is the time to ask Antonio a question. Braze is how you pronounce his last name, right?
E is silent, so brass.
Brass.
Yeah.
Okay, I've always said
Yeah,
okay.
but I like the way you say it though. Like you got a little accent at the end of it. I'll
So
take it.
the E is silent.
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody side channeled me. How do you say his name? So it's Antonio Brass.
Yeah.
So all right. So All right. Well, let me look and see if we have any questions from the floor. And I think she turned on hand raising. Yes, I did. And I don't see any questions yet. All right. So there's no questions on the floor in Clubhouse.
Okay.
And somebody just says thank you to you and for sharing that information. And for more information on BlockQuake, we're going to ask everybody to please visit BlockQuake, that is creating
Yeah.
seismic shifts in the market. So blockquake.com. So that is a catchy slogan. I always love that. And they're on Telegram at and LinkedIn at BlockQuake, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those places. You can check out their social media, see what they're doing. Is there anything else, Antonio, that you wanted to share this evening?
Um, yeah, we're keeping an eye on a lot of the bills that are going through Congress right now. So,
Oh,
um,
yeah, we got to talk about that.
yeah, there's the infrastructure bill, there's the big spending bill, and then I guess news came out today that stable coins may fall under the SEC now. So there's a lot of news I need to catch up to.
Woo.
Um, actually, this is one of the things. Like every country has their own rules regarding what a cryptocurrency falls under, whether it's a security or commodity, and so forth. So, because we built ourselves to be a truly global exchange and we do full KYC, we're able to onboard pretty much any cryptocurrency, and we can KYC block jurisdictions where we need to until the regulatory clarity is there. Right,
Okay.
like a really great example is XRP, right, where there's a case going on with the SEC, so we can't offer that to U.S. people just yet, but it's a crypto we expect to offer before the year is out, and we'll be able to offer it internationally. And then once the case is cleared up, and hopefully it's available to U.S. people again, flip a switch, and then U.S. people can participate in that too. So we're able to easily manage through some of those regulatory hurdles because of that. But yeah, there's a lot going on the regulatory front.
So as of today, and I'm just making sure we're clear. I haven't read my law 360 today, but as of today, you're saying that stable coins fall under. Uh,
So it looks like that's what's going to happen. I saw like a news blurb hit my inbox that it looks like the other regulatory agencies are going to say okay to the SEC managing the whole stablecoin aspect of it. I don't think that they're necessarily calling stablecoins security. I think that just the SEC will be the agency that handles um, I guess that they're following different banking rules or other rules that may apply to stablecoins.
okay.
And I think we need clarity around stablecoins, right? Like there's a lot of stablecoins out there where we don't know if it's really backed by the actual dollars or not. There's no audits across many of them. We have no idea where the money is. So there's a lot of lack of transparency with stablecoins. So um, regardless of which regulator feels this, hopefully they come out with some clear rules defining what is a fiat stablecoin and what does that mean. And again, that will bring more trust to the marketplace, right? Like there's a couple of stablecoins that are to the tune of billions of dollars that are out there, and a lot of people use it to par when they exit a trade. They're sitting in stablecoins, but a lot of people are worried, like, is it going to be there tomorrow? Is it backed by anything? So hopefully we get clarity around that in the coming months.
And I just want to just because again we're always teaching and always educating. I want to make sure that people are clear on a stable coin that is backed by or supposed to be backed by something. And as you hear Antonio saying, we don't know whether they are or not. And so nobody can definitively say that something is backed by something because nobody's really counting the dollars and making sure that that's actually there. But I also hear people saying that coins are pegged to something. That is totally different. Pegged means they're almost comparing the prices. That has nothing to do with being backed by. So I want to make sure that those of you who need to do some further due diligence and research, you understand that they are two totally different things, because a lot of people do have those questions because people try to shield their coins all the time and say, oh, yes, it's pegged to the troy ounce of the gold. Well, it's pegged to it, but that does not mean the troy ounce of gold is sitting anywhere that's backing the coin. So you just really want to be careful of wording uh,
Yeah.
when you begin to venture off into some of this stuff that we share with you not to, but you want to do it anyway. You're going to have to do your due diligence and understand the terminology. So I just wanted to share that really quickly.
Yeah, that's a great point. Fiat backed, using fiat as an example here, fiat backed versus fiat pegged, where so take True USD for example. I believe they're actually a stable coin that is audited, and I think they can prove the backing. So that is don't hold me to that. I think so, but they'd be an example of where you're holding a bunch of True USD. You can actually go redeem it for US dollars. You don't have to sell it in the secondary marketplace on an exchange for the dollars. You can actually go direct and redeem it. So because it's supposed to be fiat back, actual dollars sitting in reserve, but then you've got stable coins that are algorithmic or pegged, where they're essentially doing math, like DAI, for example, where they do a constant rebalancing based on the price of Ethereum, where if if the price moves up or down, they then reallocate their supply of the DAI stablecoin to maintain that one-to-one peg. So yeah, it's definitely good for people to understand that the differences.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, well, thank you for sharing that information. And we didn't. You must have been doing an incredible job. We don't have any questions at all. I think you've done a thorough job. You've helped some folks really understand, what pairs are and how exchanges work on the back end in some respects. And so, just learning what you've done and what BlockQuake has done and is going to continue to do in the marketplace is incredible. And so we're looking forward to many, many years of working alongside you to just make sure that inclusion is happening. And it's a tall task, and it's going to take a lot of us to make sure that the communities that are underserved and that need it the most are able to have access. And so you've poised yourself to deal with folks in that realm, and you've poised yourself to deal with people that have hundreds of millions of dollars that are coming in to the market as well. And so my hat goes off to you for that. And so that being said, if we don't have any questions, we're going to let Antonio give us his last words if he has any, and then we're going to close out for the evening.
Yeah, awesome. No, just thank you for having me, Naja. People can find out more information about it by going to blockquake.com, or BlockQuake is all of our social handles. Anyone looking for me directly, all my social handles should be my first last name for everything pretty much, Antonio Brasse. And I'm just really looking forward to just continuing this journey, and alongside with everything you're doing, Naja, where just really the larger mission at hand is really financial inclusion for all. And, I really want to keep people focused on the fact that, that's our mission, to bring, the broader access to the crypto markets and just financial markets overall to everyone over the coming months and years. And just get more people participating and taking control of their own financial future.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you for that. You've been an incredible guest, and BlockQuake is an incredible exchange. And again, for those of you who haven't checked it out, please do so by going to blockquake.com and just checking out their user interface. I'm always talking to you all about ease of use, because that is just critically important in the good times when the market is hot and when the bad times. When you go to an exchange and they're shut down and you're not able to use it, one of those platforms that we know well, they do that quite often. So
Yeah,
BlockQuake is not one of those. So you want to make sure that you're in the right place utilizing the right platforms. And again, you don't need just one or two. You can do one or two or three platforms and find out which one works best for you, which one is the most user friendly. Utilize it, the one that has the most benefits. And again, just really be aware of what's going on in the market. And so we hope that we have brought you some great information tonight on the block. And we thank you for your time, your energy, and all that you all bring, not just Antonio, not just BlockQuake, all of our listeners and everybody that's on today. We thank you for taking your time to share with us. And we hope that we have said something today that can help you understand your journey and further your journey. And as we build wealth together, that we know which exchanges are safe and which exchanges we can continue to use in the very, very near future. And I thank you all for joining me on another episode of On the Block. With that said, you all have an incredible night. And for those of you that are on Clubhouse, our room will be closing in just about 5 seconds. And we thank you all. And for our listeners all around everywhere, again, we thank you and we appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you next month on the Block. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.